Dogs against the Chiefs in Kansas City this weekend. The Jags QB was talking about his expectations of Arrowhead's environment. Take a listen.
Obviously, the environment and the atmosphere we're going to play in is one of, if not the best in the NFL. I mean, I can't imagine it'll be much louder than our fans were here on Saturday, honestly, but that was when we were on defense, not offense. So we played there earlier in the year, but this is a little bit different. You know, it's a playoff game, divisional round. So the stakes are higher, so I expect them to be even crazier, more packed stadium.
I love the atmosphere at Arrowhead. Shannon, was this inbounds or out of bounds from Trevor Lawrence?
Well, I mean, it's inbounds. That's the way he feels, Skip. But he undercut his own argument because he said, well, you know, that was when we didn't have the ball in the crowd. That was then the other way around. This time it's going to be we have the ball trying to hear. Jacksonville, what do you think they have? 50,000 fans? It'll probably be close to 80,000 at Arrowhead. And being in that division for 12 years is one of the loudest stadiums that I've ever played. It probably the loudest next to Mile High. Damn, I'm looking at, they got the 10, Ash put the 10 loudest stadiums on here, and Mile High isn't on here anymore. Because I can assure you, when I played in Mile High, it was one of the loudest, if not the loudest
I
stadium.
understand. I've been there many times. Is Seattle at the top?
Yeah, Seattle's number 2. Arrowhead is number 1.
Arrowhead is number one. Okay.
It's the loudest, the all-time loudest stadium. It had a decibel level of 142.2 in 2014 with over 76,000 fans. No other sports arena has ever reached that high since. So I guess it's going to be.
Are we just doing outdoor?
With Minnesota's in here, and State Farm, the indoor stadium, Superdome.
Okay.
It's still not as loud as Arrowhead.
Okay. Because I thought back in the day, the Metrodome, it was the loudest because you needed earplugs in there in the press boxes. The press box is low in the Metrodome.
There's piping noise in there, Skip.
Yeah,
we had the NFL cut that out.
Yep.
Let me show. I'm gonna show you something, Skip. This is how loud Arrowhead was my rookie year when we played in Arrowhead.
Okay.
Take a look at this video, ladies and gentlemen.
Denver inside their one. Elway is under center. Now he pulls away again. His hands on his hips. He looks back, and Gordon McCarter, the referee, said, hey, what gives?
And if they didn't, you threw a 5-yard penalty on them.
Well, to help lower the crowd noise. Any further crowd noise problem will result in a charged timeout against Kansas City.
Skip, can you imagine that now?
No.
If the crowd, be quiet so he can hear John couldn't hear the signal. And so Coach Reeves told us, John, if you can't hear, just back out. Look at the official, and he's going to instruct the crowd to quiet down.
Okay. I don't think they quieted down.
They did, Skip. They did because they didn't want to use the timeouts, and then they was going to penalize them. And then the next year they said, nah, that's the whole purpose of having a home crowd is that you shouldn't be able to hear. So that's how loud it's going to be. And here's the thing, Trevor. You know this. You played in a playoff game. There's a different level of intensity.
Yep.
There is it's the finality of it. The crowd knows it. The players know it. So the level of play rises. The crowd, the anticipation, it rises. So your job is to try to make sure that crowd is quiet by getting off to a fast start. The one thing you don't want is the crowd to get involved in the game, and all of a sudden you get these pre-snap penalties. It's 1st and 15. It's 2nd and 15. It's 3rd and long. You don't want that. But I ain't got no problem with what he said. But now you got to go out there and back it up because now, Skip, the crowd is really like, okay, you think Jacksonville is just as loud as Arrowhead? Really? With y'all little 42,000 fans in the swimming pool? Man, you better stop it. I'm anxious to see.
So do you think this will damage Jacksonville's chances of competing in this game?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because, Skip, most of the time you go on silent count anyway. If you notice, the guard looks back at the quarterback. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready. And now all of a sudden he gives the center the signal.
Okay. I thought a week ago some unknown New York Giants offensive lineman, talked about how he was surprised at the Minnesota crowd on, was it Christmas Eve they played there, that it was very quiet. He said it was like Midwestern quiet, and he said, I can say that because I'm from Nebraska.
Right.
And I thought you have the wrath of God is going to come down out of the rafters on you in that dome stadium. And instead, the Giants went in and won the game.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter as much as I thought it might, although it was probably very loud. They just overcame the decibels. So in this case, when I parse out what he said, I don't think he intended any
No disrespect. I don't think
it didn't come across that way because I think he was just trying to be true to his school, so to speak. He was trying to support his local fans because he said, as an aside, I can't imagine it'll be much louder than our fans were last Saturday night. Well, he was trying to protect their credibility because they've come back to life in Jacksonville because they finally have something to cheer for.
Right.
Okay, I'm not saying they'll ever be Arrowhead, but it looked, I don't know what the attendance was, but it looked pretty full to me the other night, and it sounded pretty loud through my TV as they came back. Obviously, they were very quiet for 27 to nothing.
Right.
But the point is, I don't think he was taking a shot at Kansas City as much as he was just trying to
build up his own crowd.
Yeah, just say, hey, I can't imagine they're that much better, but he does acknowledge they're some better than Jacksonville.
Yeah, of course.
And then he goes into, this is going to be more intense.
We didn't have the ball. It wasn't like I was trying to hear. That was the defense was on the field.
Because at home, it doesn't affect you at all. It shouldn't affect you at all. So then I see these fan comments, like there's one here. You know, they're outraged. We're taking their soul. One huddle at a time, disrupt the huddle. Okay, so they're going to try to just destroy whatever ability they have to communicate with each other. Well, I'm thinking, I have seen teams go in there and win because I saw Joe Burrow go in there in the AFC Championship game and win the game 27-24 in overtime. I don't know how he did it, but he overcame the loudest crowd in the world, in America anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that game Brady played in the AFC Championship game. It was a shootout, but it went to overtime, and Brady managed to convert 3 straight 3rd and 10s. They won 37-31 in overtime, so they overcame number one on your list. So it's doable.
I won a bunch of games.
Yes, you won a bunch of games there.
I won a playoff game there too.
Okay.
It is loud, but hey, it's loud in a lot of places. You go in there and you try not to have a whole lot of audibles. Whatever you call, you normally run it. If you have a play, it's like the only thing that we really did, Skip, is that we would go, if it was a right call, we would say over and it would be left. If it was a left call, we'd say over and it'd be right.
Okay.
But you don't want a whole lot of changes. You don't want a whole lot of, getting up there to the line of scrimmage and trying to do all this and all that. No, because the crowd see you doing that, and they're going to get louder and louder and louder and louder.
Okay.
So you want to minimize the adjustments that you're going to have at the line of scrimmage.
Okay. You also have to give Trevor Lawrence this much. He does know what of he speaks because he went there this year and they lost 27-17. It wasn't that close, but he went 29 of 40 for 259, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. QBR 64, pretty good. He got sacked 5 times, which surprises me. I don't think they'll get him 5 times this time. Seems like his line is protecting much better now. But my point to you is, he did this. So he speaks from some credibility. He has some sense of how loud they were in a regular season game. And I'm thinking he's thinking, we'll be okay. And yet, I think he thinks they're going to be okay no matter what because I don't think he takes anything that seriously.
No.
That's why I told you I thought he was superb in their comeback because nothing seems to bother him.
No. No, it doesn't. It does not.
We have gone back and forth about, does he take, this is pre-draft, does he take football that seriously? Is it really a priority in his life? Because he said it really wasn't his priority.
But I see a change in him, Skip. It seems like it matters to him now. I mean, I'm not saying that it didn't matter, but it seems like it's creeped up on the importance scale to how he approaches it. And maybe because it's Dougie P. Maybe it was the relationship that he has with Doug Peterson.
Could be.
But he seems like a different guy now. That's what it seems like to me. But you got your hands full. Kansas City is not an easy place to play.
No.
And especially they got a very good team. Now, when we go in there, Skip, normally they were a defensive team. In the early 90s, they were all defense. DT, Neil Smith, they had, Joe Salmour, Joe Phillips, all those guys. They were a defensive-led football team. Now they're an offensive-led football team that puts pressure on you, force you to score, and makes you one-dimensional. Now all of a sudden you just have to throw the football to try to catch up because they put so much pressure on you. And you got to keep the game close. You want to keep the game close to try to keep the crowd up out of it.
That's why I don't think he's afraid of Arrowhead because I don't think he's afraid of the Kansas City defense, but he full well knows he has to.
He got to compete against that guy.
He's got to hang with him.
He got to match
whatever
that guy.
he does, he's got to do.
And if you look at Skip, if you look at when Brady beat him, Brady matched him.
He did.
When Joe Burrow when Joe Burrow has beaten him, he's either matched him or played better. And that's what you got to do. It's not about what you're deep. You got to go match him because he's going to get his numbers now. You just got to go get yours that says, okay, defense, give me a turnover here or there. Can we steal a possession?
Yep.
Because if you